Plain Talk, Hype TV, Live TV. We are an organization here. We're at Plain Talk, where we discuss sex health, relationship health, conflict management, a breadth of information, and we are so excited to be with you during this lunch hour. I'm Heather.
I'm Annie.
And we have an extremely special guest. We're so fortunate to be here. Ms. Shannon Martin. She told us to do that. So I just wanted to do that every week. Thank you so much for coming here. Now, the reason that we're here, first and foremost, is to promote our Plain Talk parties. And Anne's going to tell you a little bit about what that is.
So if you reside in the 19122 or 19133 area, we can definitely host a Plain Talk party. We can do it at your house or at a community site. Essentially, a Plain Talk party is where we talk about STI and pregnancy prevention. We'll facilitate it for you, so we answer all your questions. So you can always contact Tiffany Bacon, and we can set that up for you.
Now, Tiffany Bacon is our organization's coordinator. She links the organization to different individuals in the community so that you can get these Plain Talk parties going. Again, a Plain Talk party is just a little tiny session that teaches you about sexual and reproductive health, as well as relationship health, meaning conflict management, parent-child interaction, parent-child communication. Again, a breadth of information.
Right, it helps you with the challenges of talking to your child, because I know a lot of people do want to talk with their kid, but they're like, how do I do this? My kid don't listen to me. So we'll give you some tools that will help you with that, and it's pretty dope.
It is. So if you live in the 19122 or 19133 area of Philadelphia, we definitely encourage you to reach out to Tiffany Bacon at Team Bacon, like the food, at phnc.org. Again, that's tbacon at phnc.org. So now that we paid our bills, so to speak, let's get into the actual show. So what we wanted to talk about today was, when is it the right time to talk to your kid about sex? So for parents, when I say when is it the right time, how young is too young to talk to your child about sex? And we say this because there are so many factors influencing children's sexual behavior today.
Right.
For example, with like the media, which we're going to talk about. There's so much going on.
It's everywhere. You can't avoid it. Sex dolls, and you can't escape it. Even I feel like in a lot of children's shows, you see like little instrumentals pop up, and it's like basically how young is too young to start talking to a child. Does that even exist anymore with everything that's going on now?
Right. And you were talking about some of those children's shows earlier. So tell us about one of them.
Well, I was with my nephew and we were watching one, and I don't remember what show it was, but they were like drugging a lamb for like the genie to come out, and it was a guy with Speedos in a bikini, and I just felt like there's a whole bunch of 6-year-olds watching it. I mean, I do understand that they're not too conscious of gender roles, but then it's just like, I feel like at the same time it could confuse a child, and it's just like, this guy's half naked, so I just don't think that was appropriate for a show that was rated TV-Y.
Okay, but like say, okay, that's introduced to your child, right? Because in my mind, I'm just like, okay, what's wrong with a Speedo? You know, coming from a more Caribbean-based background, I'm just like, you know, you were to the beach. If you were in your house, that's your business. So how would you talk to your child if they saw them and you saw them watching something?
My child's 11, and I always say she's 11 going on 22. You know, I think a lot of the shows they're watching today is definitely like way more advanced than they should be. But knowing that and knowing where my child is cognitively, if I saw that, it's as simple as I saw it. There's a man there with drawers on, because there's two sides to the story. You know, I don't want to speak bad about the whole gender. You know, we have it's definitely something that's real going on. Mm-hmm. You know, we have transsexual. We have a lot of different acronyms as well. Right. You know, that describe who people are or what their sexual preference is. I just simply straight talk to my daughter. There's a guy there in underwear. It's as simple as that. We're not going to go any further than that. We're not going to create a story about it. It is what it is. Okay. But it's in every single TV show. So it's important to talk to your children as early as possible. But so specifically for what you're talking about, I saw that. I just simply saw it. You know, I may just laugh and maybe veer off to a whole other conversation so that she's not internalizing or thinking about or concentrating on why does this guy have on Speedos? At 11 years old, they don't know Speedos. They just know there's a German sitting there with drawers on.
Exactly. And I feel like a lot of times we do, as those who are a little further in our cognitive development, apply super sexuality to things that could be used for just eating purposes. So while your daughter's sitting there, laughing, and that's why I said, what's wrong with the Speedo? The parents are like, oh my goodness, this is so sexualized. And it's just like, then the questions will appear like, how so?
They react to us.
Exactly.
Right.
So I'm like, oh my goodness, look at him in his drawers. Men wear drawers.
Right.
That's the thing.
They wear different types of drawers, and so we wear different types of drawers. Now, would I prefer that he didn't pop out on the children's show? Absolutely, that's my preference. But they're in cartoons now. The cartoons are kissing. So what do I say? You can't watch television at all, daughter.
Right.
I do try to definitely look at what she's looking at, but I think more than anything, you can't shield them from everything. They're going to see things out on the street.
Because I was going to say, I think it goes beyond television, to be honest. I don't, in my personal opinion, I don't think television is the only place anymore. In 2015, I felt like actually social media holds more weight influencing the youth as opposed to TV. Because even if you don't let your child watch TV, it's so easy to go on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or whatever social media. Pop up on your phone. You have a smart TV, you can check out your television. So, I don't really know how to have a problem with anything.
But I mean, we're talking about this whole child, protecting your child from social media. Let's talk about that. The whole social media. Do you think it's always negative? And I'm speaking specifically for two types of things that have come in the media. So we have a little farther dated, isn't here in the world. So she just released a book a couple weeks ago. How to be a advantage, right? Now, I read it. I thought it was kind of dope. There were some things where I was just like, no. But I thought overall it was a good read. She also came out along with the book with her version of the slut walk. Now, if you're not familiar with what the slut walk is, I encourage everybody listening to this to use your sister Google. She'll help you. But I will tell you that the slut walk, the base foundation of it is to kind of not putting the victim whenever a woman. So to take away the victim. A lot of times. Right. It's like, oh, what should have been So I think a lot of the girls reflect and decided to make the slut walk more exclusive. So a lot of feminists are I'm gonna say it might be. So she kind of brought in and made it more black who are overly sexualized or trans or this or that. And then she also comes out and how to get that bitch, which kind of against a lot of what she's talking about. So how do you feel that these performances have impact your daughter's on the song? It's just like, mommy, what is this about? How would you handle that?
So I'm hearing two things here. One, let me just address the media first. Right, I do realize as a mother, I still shield my child from some things. But I think a lot of the things that are happening to our children, I can blame parents because we don't prepare our children. We're so caught up with shielding them from everything. That's unrealistic. The bottom line is you are not shielding your children every moment of the day. So even if you are monitoring how much television they watch or what they're watching on television, they go to school. They go to school with other children whose households don't think the way you think. So they're hearing things at school. They're seeing things at school. So first and foremost, no social media. So she doesn't do Facebook. My child's 11. She doesn't do Instagram. There's so much time for that form of negativity. Now, is there some positive stuff on Facebook? Like everything I ever post on Facebook is to uplift someone. But then there's always someone else on Facebook that is putting, the negative pictures. And I can't say that when I see some of them, I'm not like, whoa, right? Look. But, I have to be in control of how much I'm going to allow my daughter to be exposed early. Now, there's certain, again, things I'm not going to be able to control. I don't know what she's seeing in school. So I started talking to her early about these types of things and things that are inappropriate or, standing for who you are and they make you a reverend who you are. Someone says, Kevin Williams. That's somebody of integrity. That's somebody who, does what she's supposed to do. The other thing in regards to social media and like the Amber Rose thing. You know, I keep my daughter reading books, but the right kinds of books, so that she's always wanting to read those books, like the Diary of a something, Diary of a Dumb Kid or something.
Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Yeah, the Diary of a Wimpy Kid. You know. So I mean that's cute. You know, I can teach her how to write her own books. But in regards to all those other books, you know, our children are influenced by us our opinions. So granted, I might read a book and they say a child is watching. If it's a book that I don't want her to read, she doesn't want to read that book. And yes, I'm being two-faced if I say this. But you know, I will say something like, I can't believe they have that stuff. You can't believe it. But she's saying, I can't believe it. So she doesn't know she's being influenced, but I am purposely influencing her. But we're not going to be able to stop. We see things in school. They want to hear about things when they're with their friends. You should teach them what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. It's not always the easiest thing. You have to start somewhere. So she knows a lot that 11 don't know, but I taught her appropriately. Right. Don't. Streets will.
What is the right? Because when I read that book over, at first there was my behind it. Academia aside, come up with this. I thought Amber Rose was just going to give you a play-by-play on how you know really be a bad bitch and be out here like you know in the inner circle. That said, the book really went against what I thought it was. It was more of just like my background. Anybody who happens to be in who lives in South Philly. I mean, I've had all the resources or whatever. This is what I did. For myself, as well as in my career to get right. It was more so like having friends who are really careful, you know, how keeping yourself. There's some blogs where just like it was all about like husbands and men. It really wasn't. Even when she talks about the sex aspect, it's just like you need to make sure that you're with a partner who is completely there for you, who won't step outside of the relationship, kind of like respecting yourself and making sure that whoever you're with respects you too. So when you actually crack the book over that whole don't judge a book by its cover, it kind of seems like it'll be the right book, and especially for a young girl kind of growing up and, you know, maneuvering her own sexuality herself as a person, that could create like some really positive conversation. So how do you identify what's the right book from what's, you know, or the right, not the right book, or like the right medium in general, you know?
So what I'm hearing, I haven't read that book, right. And I guess no negativity in regards to Amber Rose, but you know, in regards to what you're saying, I would want my daughter to stay clear away from that book. Because I think eventually she's going to talk to boys or be interested in boys? Absolutely. She's going to have a lot of outside influences. What I don't want her to think is that it's okay to be man to 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 man. And I think a lot of women, and I could be wrong, I don't know if the book is saying that, if she's detailing that, but I want her to know it's okay to wait. You know, it's okay to determine your path and what you are going to want. So for some books, for most of the time, if she comes home with a book, I'm like, let me see it. I will read the outside cover. I might skim through it. She's never brought one home that I felt was inappropriate. But again, I think that's because the lessons of being appropriate started early. You know, where some mothers may say, I'm not going to talk to my child about sex. She's only 7. Why not? Somebody else is. Right. The television is. And I'm not going to name any shows because I don't know the legality of what I can name and what I can't name. Just keeping it real. But there's a lot of shows that I see, and I'm like, I can't believe she is slobbing him down like that on this child television show. Mm-hmm. So since I caught her and it's on the show, I'm like, what do you think about that? I want to know, what does she think about it? Does she have questions? Get the answers from mommy before you get them in the street. So in regards to books, I just need to see them first. Right. You know, I need to skim through them. You just don't know.
Now, side note. So while you do this, while you talk to her about the books that she reads, also I just want to put a little plug in there and let you guys know that Plain Talk is another service that we offer here. Apart from our pizza parties or parties that we give to adults, we have sessions for youth, which are called our life planning education sessions with Plain Talk, where we go to different schools in the Philadelphia area, specifically zip codes 19122 and 19133, and give a 12-session course on sexual and reproductive health. And we really get into the family values compared to individual values, and choice making, the consequences of your choices, and also, again, sexual and reproductive health. So that was a little fun to bump that in. Just a little side note question.
I like the plug really quickly because I think that's a lot of what our community is missing. You know, it's the whole don't talk about it. But when you don't talk about it, you leave your child victim to finding out the information the wrong way. So I love what you guys are doing.
And also, I back to what you said that you try to like install values in her, like get let her know this is how you feel, and then she can grasp that. But we also even have content on values because a lot of it is not learning from the streets, but children or the youth doesn't know how to develop their own values because it's like we get our values like to me or not from my parents, or if you do have a relationship from that, it's just like it gives them a sense of who I am and what I value, and I feel like if you value yourself, you'll think twice about things. You can kind of affect the future, so you think to do this or not to do that. So it's important to know what you value and where you see yourself.
And that's significant because we're sitting in a building. This building wasn't built from the top down. You have to build it from the bottom. You know, you have to solidify the foundation. And it does start at home. So if it is missing at home, then the child is left to grab a little here, grab a little there, and ultimately never knowing who they are. Right. And with that, that's why you have so many adults walking around not knowing who they are, you know, having no value, having no sense. They're just children in their body. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, it seems, just talking to you from this little short moment, that you're very hands-on and you are very involved in just like your child, sexual journey and what have you. Oh, sorry. You're an involved parent and you're heavily involved in your child's, sexual trajectory. What was your relationship like with your parents? Did that influence you to be heavily involved? Like, were your parents heavily there, or did they kind of take a step back until you went to change that behavior?
Right, like what did your parents say? Like, what did you wish they told you? And then, like, did that influence you how you work things with your daughter?
My mom didn't speak about it at all. My dad didn't talk about it at all. It was like the forbidden conversation. So, we kind of had to feel it out on our own. On the other hand, my grandmother was old school and said it however the thought came to her mind, it came out her mouth just that way. So there were times when you were like, oh, but I'm saying down home, I don't even know how raunchy I can get today.
Listen, get raunchy.
Right, just say
Don't get raunchy.
She used to say, no, you're not going to do that. But, she used to say, you shouldn't be out after a certain time of night. And maybe some of her thoughts were unrealistic. She's like, the only young girls that are 14 years old that are outside after 12 are the ones that are out there doing things they shouldn't be doing. So you shouldn't be out in the dark, things like that. So it's like, wow. In regards to boys, don't let them touch anything. You don't know where their hands been. You be like, ugh, really? They put their hands all over the place. So my grandmother, she was just in your face at your neck. And you knew that your friends were doing these things. You had grandma in your head like, ugh, you can walk away with a disease.
Right.
Just because they kissed somebody on the cheek. They were going to die. Right. Because that's what grandma said. But mom didn't talk about it at all. So the good thing is what grandma said had us at a point where we were like, don't touch me. Unrealistically, though, growing up, when you get to the age where it's okay to do some of those things, although you shouldn't do it unless you're married. But either way, you weren't as open because grandma said, if you do this, you're going to die.
Right.
And I can definitely see the value in some of that fear, but do you think it actually hinders you as you went through? It was kind of like there was like negative aspects to it as you went through life, because without a resource to say, oh, if you happen to have sex, this is what you should do. How did you learn that?
I think it didn't hinder us, my sisters and I, because we believed what grandma said. But I think in the world today, it absolutely hinders our children because they don't have the resources. They don't know what to do, because what if your curiosity is so deep and there isn't a faith that says I shouldn't have sex until I'm married? And
what kind of stopping?
Yeah, and if this guy is telling you you're so cute, because there's probably no self-esteem issues, nobody taught you that either. This guy telling you you're cute, you're like, oh, wow. And he tells you that the way you prove to me that you love me is, you want to lay down. So you're like, oh, I guess that's how it goes. And you're hearing all your girlfriends say this. if we haven't at least, again, built the building from the foundation in regards to protecting yourself, in regards to, like, these are the things that you're going to be asked on the street. These are the things that, men, and I'm not a man basher, would like to get from you. And these are how these things are done.
Or women would like to get from you, men.
Okay, fine. Yeah. But, I think we have to prepare our children. And yeah, it's that forbidden conversation. But if you don't have it, someone will. That's a period.
And you want your child to have the accurate facts. You must want to keep things in your head.
Absolutely.
And the accurate facts is something that's so important. So did you hear that story? Do you listen to 103.9?
I do.
Philadelphia radio station, 103.9. Now, it's a gospel station, and there was this big thing a couple weeks ago about this lady who got married to a gospel singer, actually. And on her wedding day, either at the ceremony or at the reception, I'm not quite sure, she presented her father, who's a minister, with receipts, I guess, for the fact that she was still a virgin. So she went to a doctor and said that her hymen was in check.
Oh, wow.
What do you think about that? As far just bouncing off the whole idea you need to get the accurate facts, right? Because then, all the sex experts on Twitter came up and were just like, well, just because you have your hymen intact doesn't mean you're a virgin. It's true, because that mouth could be on overdrive. And,
Or if you scratch a certain way, your hymen is not intact.
It's true. So, what do you feel about that? Do you think maybe she could have pulled the okie doke on everybody in the congregation just to keep her father happy? And then also in that article, I just want to add up and say, the son, so the father has 4 children, 3 daughters and a son, or 2 daughters and a son, one of them. And daughter didn't know. It might have been an issue.
Because you needed receipts.
I know I always shoot these questions at you one after the other. But one, how do you feel about that situation at large? And then 2, what do you feel about that gender imbalance in it? So if you're a boy, is it okay for you to be out there, having sex with them? You feel like it, and if you're a girl, no, that's no. But if you were a boy, do you think your friends would have different conversations with you? So many questions.
So from my particular parents, I think they still wouldn't have had the conversation. It would have just been, don't bring no babies home.
Right.
Don't bring any babies home. That type of thing, but not, don't pull out your private part, getting to the nitty gritty. So I do think that there's an imbalance when it comes to boys and girls. And it's so funny, I was talking to a male friend of mine who was telling me his son is in 11th grade, and he was like, yeah, found out he's doing it to some girl, because that's the term, doing it. And I'm like, okay, so what kind of conversation did you have with him? He was like, well, I told him, I hope you carrying condoms and this and that. I was like, okay. So what if that was your daughter? What was that was your daughter? He's like, oh, I'll kill somebody. I'm like, okay. So you don't think that it's wise, but she's in 9th grade, to start having a conversation with her now? He's like, nah, she better not. That's unrealistic. That's not even realistic to say that she better not. Because think about it, when we were young, we did everything our parents told us not to do. Because we felt they were old school. They don't know. They're not hip. They're not hype. They don't know. All of our friends know. So we value what our friends said. And don't let a friend have a mom or a dad who was cool with whatever they did. They were like mom or dad of the year. I feel like we need to have those conversations now. And I do feel like it is an imbalance between whether it's a boy or a female, which we need to stop. The bottom line is we need to educate both of them. Here's what can happen. And more than anything, these sexually transmitted diseases are on the rise. Absolutely. And because nobody's teaching their child that, this is what could happen. And in regards to what you said, how she presented the paperwork, I'm probably going to contradict myself. But I'm almost proud to hear that, because that says 2 things. One, someone talked to her about it. Someone talked to her in a facet that made her respect herself enough to know that that's something I should be proud of. And 2, she still respects daddy. Wants him to be proud of her. I want to show you, Dad, this is what I did. This is what I learned, and I stuck to that. At the same time, yes, she could have been participating in some other things, some acts other than, just what we know to be sex. I would hope that wasn't the case.
Right.
But I also feel like we're going to judge.
Yeah, that was, I feel like that's a little much.
Judge.
I, as a parent, I just feel like as a parent, you just want the best for your child. You give them all the tools of education, but ultimately, a person has free will. So your daughter's 11, and you want she's possibly to be a woman, but I just feel like it's too much for a father to demand, like his daughter's still a virgin. It's like,
but I don't know if that's demanded. It didn't sound like you said demanded.
He didn't demand. She just kind of presented it, and it's funny that you said her reading judge. So to touch on a few things, yes, the STIs are rampant here, and it's shown that 63% of individuals, specifically in Philadelphia high schools, are having sex. So the information needs to go out there, which is why we are advocating for these plain talk parties. Bring us to your schools because we'd like to help you.
right.
That said, who are we to judge? At the same time, you can't judge information that you were not presented. So if she did not display that certificate out here to not only
that's true.
I
mean, you do open yourself. You open yourself up to judgment.
Yeah,
when you put your business out there.
So while she should have gotten, or while it's great that she got the information to, stay safe or to be abstinent, allegedly abstinent, she also should have gotten some information on privacy and keeping that business to herself. Her dad is a pastor. I'm sure he has a pastor study.
I kind of agree with that, and I kind of don't. Because she has the right to remain private. That's daddy. You're always daddy's little girl. So her presenting, I think it's so beautiful that she felt at her grown age, I want to present my father with the evidence, the confirmation of what he taught me, that I stuck to that. Because they say, you've been bringing children up, or the lessons you install your children with, they never leave them, blah, 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 blah. But she's saying, Daddy, you taught me this. I remained in the word, and here's the proof of it. I love it. And I don't think the privacy in that regard needed to be respected per se, because it was her choice.
Right.
At the same time, I do believe when you put your business out there, you do open yourself up for criticizing. But who are we? Right. So everybody that is criticizing and ridiculing, who are you? Because trust me, you got some skeletons in the closet too. You just chose not to bring them out. So the moment you bring a bone, I'm thinking to myself, what kind of bones you have? Everybody who has something to say, I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm saying to myself, what we normally do is we broadcast our ignorance. She shouldn't have did that. I can't believe she did that. What are you doing behind closed doors? Right. Okay, so let's keep it real. We all are living in a glass house. All of us. We're just not willing to admit it because we got this persona. We want everybody to, get out of that, get over that, be your authentic, honest self, and then you can teach your child how to be their authentic, honest self, which teaches their peers that she's not going to accept anything but another authentic, honest self. And it's all about self-esteem. You equip your child or whomever you're dealing with the self-esteem that they need, the education that they need, they're equipped to make better decisions. If they don't, they just don't.
I'm just a little biased because we always hear about women, save yourself, wait. We don't hear about men. And this is one thing that really takes me off is when I hear people, specifically young men, and I'm not a manufacturer either, I love men, that they say things like let's say there was a little girl who got exposed, in which I'm not for, they leave the picture, they're like, this is why I want to have no daughter. Why aren't people so quick to say, I don't want any daughters because of this? Instead of, saying I don't want daughters, why don't you create your son's sacrifice instead of putting them on blast? Because it takes you time, you don't want a daughter, she might get pregnant, but a boy can get pregnant. So it's just instead of just, bashing women, and you should wait, look at that, you open your legs, we should also open the self-esteem back as boys, and I feel like they should be part of all of that process as well. It's just not about women saving themselves.
I agree. I totally agree. I do believe that we cheerlead for the boys. Oh, my son got some. Literally, just being straight up.
So vulgar.
And it's vulgar and it's wrong. And I do think that we should. You know what? I think it's because of that whole fear that. Let me just call a spade a spade. Especially old-fashioned parents who haven't quite accepted the new laws. And I'm just going to say same-sex laws. It's always, I don't want my son going in that direction.
So having sex will preserve his heterosex.
And then it's funny because
Listen, I think there are some ignorant dads that's like, you know, at least he with a woman. You know, the bottom line is, people are going to choose who they're going to choose.
and I was going to say that too because, not to put the business out there because this is why, but I have plenty of girlfriends that like their mom had them online and they come with their boys, but no skin on their nose because they identified as lesbians. So hey, I'm going to sleep over. And she had the time of her life. Her mom said no boys. She didn't care about the boys. So it's like going back to you protect them, but like at the end, you know.
Yeah, they're gonna choose whatever they want.
They are.
My interest though is just like the balance. So we keep talking about, girls are kind of shunned and like, you put your voice out there and it should be equated. So if you should instill the guys with the same values, what about instilling the girls with the same values? Like, why are we out here trying to repress everyone? Like, you know what I
What do you
mean?
mean?
Why don't you do a jig when your daughter gets some? Is that wrong?
There are probably some mothers that are doing that. Like, girl,
Like Black China's mother, for example.
listen, I don't
She
know.
was a stripper. Her mama was a stripper.
Right.
So I don't know Black China, and I want to talk about it. So Black China, I'm not talking about you.
I'm not talking about you either.
But there-
I loved you on the Rich Sex video, which I feel like we should totally talk about.
OMG,
Future, he's so cute.
future's fine.
That's true.
But yeah, we're supposed to be honest, right?
Right.
But I'm sure there are some moms that's like, hit that girl, he fine, and they probably would hit it too. But I don't think. Okay, so personally,
Yes, personally.
personally, I'm not teaching my daughter. If you see it, go hit it. I'm not. I'm teaching her as far away from sex as possible, but I'm teaching her first and foremost. I'm building a foundation. Figure out who you are. Because to be honest, and God forbid, I'm be honest, this is not my wish for her. Whichever way she chooses to go,
That's like a lot.
I want her to do what she legitimately wants to do in her own right, not because she was pressured by her peers.
Right.
I'd love to see her, at 45 years old, get married,
We tried it.
I thought you were going to say something else like have her own company.
maybe have children when she's about 50 or something. No, that's the extreme. But I'd love to see her wait until she graduates from college and she's somewhat stable, before she starts having children and get married. But what if my child decides she likes someone else?
She likes Future.
She likes
She needs another concert. What happens?
Future. Future, stay away from my daughter. You too old for my daughter. But and who am I to judge? But the mother figure in me
Right.
says stay away from being outed. Because when you're already living in the limelight, that's a problem on the door. Because everything that everybody wants to push her under is already pushed her under. Again, starting from the foundation, I need to deal with her spiritualism, making sure I instill some sort of spirituality in her, some sort of self-esteem in her, and self-love. I think it all starts from that. That's her foundation. I would like to guide her with building the floors of her building, but we're going to get to a point, and I think I'm hearing it's about 15 or 16, where she's going to want to build another way while I'm trying to build this way. It is what it is. Like,
Right.
I'm saying it
I feel
now.
like I'm giving you a heart attack. Just looking at you.
She's 11, so I'm thinking now, at 16, I'm hoping that I did everything possible to teach her which way to go. Now, what you are bringing to my attention is, what am I going to do or how am I going to feel if she veers off that path? Am I going to be devastated? Am I going to be, I taught you better than this? Or am I going to be this understanding person that I'm sitting here saying, we don't have the right to judge?
Right.
I don't have the right answer for that right now. I'm having like many heart attacks internally.
And that's
This
real.
whole
And
conversation.
that's real.
And that's just keeping it real.
That's what, but I will say, just from talking to you, you really seem like you, again, are heavily involved. And I wish a lot of people had such a dope parent as you. Because there are a lot of people out here who really don't have, and parents are the most important educators. We can go around talking about plain talk parties or
Absolutely.
LPE sessions,
But
but
parents.
parents are the number one. So I definitely want to like give a hats off to you for that.
Because it seems like you're sending the right values, but as well, you're supposed to be a parent because you're not out here like, you can't watch TV. Collecting books, burning.
I think we do what our parents did when we were growing up. We are kind of like a reflection of our parents. But I think we also need to remember what didn't work.
Right.
Which in times are different now. Times are different now. So relate to that. We can't still live in 1970. It's not 1970 anymore. It's 2015. Kids are doing some things now.
Right.
So as parents, we have to relate to that. We have to keep up with the current times and the modern times and know what's going on so that we know how to equip our children with what they need. I'm not sending her to college with a kindergarten education. So
Right.
I'm not sending her out in the world not knowing anything to let some boy teach her.
And that's another thing I was going to say. Do you really think times have changed since the 70s on what people do? Or do you think they're just doing the same things, but they're not? It's out in open because my grandpa putting my family business out there. My grandpa cheated on my grandma, right? And then his thing, this is my grandpa, his thing said, it's not like back in the day where you could just cheat people minding their business. So it's like, I feel like now I don't feel like people do anything new. I feel like people do the same thing, but they're just more out about it. I feel like before people hid it more. Like I feel like always been gay, but now people are just more open about their sexuality. They own it, so that's positive. But also, in terms of sex, I feel like people are just more liberal with it. I'm not too sure, personally, because I wasn't alive at that time, that it was different and nobody was having sex, or everyone was monogamous. I just think that people.
I think people are more open about it. I don't think anything that's happening today did not happen yesterday. Right. These days, there's sneakers that are coming back that we wore back in the day. What are those, Chucks?
Or Jordan, same sneakers.
My grandma wore Chucks. Listen, but now they put a name on it and they want to charge you 3 times the amount. So my daughter's like, oh, I want this color and that color. These are new sneakers. No, baby. Grandma had them sneakers when she was little. So yeah, I do think that, it's just evolution of things just coming back. But it is now a lot more accepted now because think about it. At least when I was younger, to talk about homosexuality was he's a homo, he's this or she's that, and ew, stay away from him. And I was like, oh hey, what's up? Yeah. Right. It's the norm. And I don't know if it has anything to do with politics, the fact that laws have now been passed. That might have been the opening of the door of acceptance. But it is so much more acceptable now. It's almost like if you are a person who does not accept it or who judges it, it's like, what's wrong with you? Right. Now you're the one that is bad. That's why my whole concept is people are who they are. They're going to do what they're going to do. Let's keep it real. You just love you. Right. Do what you need to do. Treat people the way you want to be treated, and lead everything you do with love, and say everything you say with love, and then you stay safe. Right. Okay. If that makes sense.
It definitely does make sense, but I also just want to say, I think in terms of just like same-sex movements and things like that, I don't think it's a message of if you don't agree with it, then what's wrong with you. I think it's the bigotry that comes with that. And as we progress through the years and we become a more progressive nation in general, we're trying to decrease, with all the racial tension and everything, we're trying to decrease the bigotry of all fronts. But there are certain people in this world who feel like with their disagreement has to come hate. And no matter what religious book you look into, no matter what, spirit-based movement you're a part of, it's not a part of it. So I think that's where people are trying to.
Or if you disagree with them, it's like on social media, like God forbid you disagree with someone, and then everyone's like, slam, and then it's like, I just didn't like her outfit, and then someone,
so how dare you have an opinion? Who do you think you are to have an opinion in today's world? Right.
And that hate can come from both sides, to be quite honest. So, think for the people who disagree, think for the people who agree in line. So I think it just needs to go to a place of
or a place of I am a person, you are a person, you are a person. We all come from different cultures, different religions, if that does exist, and we all have different opinions. That is absolutely okay. I do not have to hate you or be mad at you because you don't feel the way I feel. And I think that even stems down to relationships. Why some relationships don't work? Because I'm mad at you because you don't agree with me. How dare you have an opinion or agree?
Instead of agreeing to disagree.
Like, oh, what's up this cool? That's how you feel? Okay, cool, cool. And move on to the next thing. Because trust me, every day, every hour, and every minute, there's more drama, trauma, stress, problems to deal with. So what we dwell on, it's like your life, figure out what you want to do. And the bottom line is, if there is a faith base, which I do have, I've been saved since I was 16, I know who I have to answer to. I know who I have to answer to. What you're going to do is what you're going to do. I can try to lead you to what I believe my truth is, but the Catholics have a truth, the Muslims have a truth, Baptists have a truth. Who am I to say that the Catholics are wrong? Who am I to say that the Muslims are wrong? I can say the Bible says. They can say the Quran says. So again, if we just all kind of adapt let me just do what I'm supposed to do in my space and in my place and stop judging other folks, like my grandma would say, it'll be okay. Me and mine is what I'm dealing with.
Right.
Okay. You and yours, I hope that y'all all right and don't bring your madness my way. But if you do, I'm not going to hate you or beat you up. I'm going to say, so here's how we do it. Because you're welcome to come onto the team. Here's how we do it. This is why we do it. This is how we do it.
Right.
And then you decide what you want to do.
Now, just to do a little time check, because I feel like we have about 2 more questions to ask you. We've talked 15 minutes. Cool, dope. So, so we talked about parent-child communication. We talked about relationships. We talked about how you would feel no matter what path your daughter takes. Again, you seem like a dope parent to me. You're kind of like a parent.
You can call me Ashe.
Oh, hey, we're in there. We're in there. Do you think, though, for youth who don't have a parent to go to or don't have a resource, whether that be don't have a parent, a guardian, some sort of figure to go to, do you think social media or some other type fills that parent void? Some other form of media?
I think it does, but that's the wrong answer.
Right.
It does because that's who and what they have as an immediate resource. You know, I think too much of us, and although again I said sometimes I sound like I'm contradicting myself, I must have like 1,000 nieces and nephews that are not my nieces and nephews because I totally come from the background of it takes a village to raise a child. So if I am not in the area and you see my child doing something wrong and you know me, you know us, you better check her. I expect that because I'm going to do that with your child as well. I know how you roll, so I know what you will accept. So I believe that social media is raising our children. I believe that the television is raising our children because we're allowing it. You know, they don't know that they have resources like the neighbor, Miss Mary, who will take them to church or who will help them out. But then again, is Miss Mary making herself available? Is Miss Mary even speaking to you when she walks outside?
Or is she like coming from a place of love or a place of judging?
Right. Or did Miss Mary hear you outside and see your pants hanging off your behind and hear you say a curse word? So Miss Mary like, My grandmother, and I love her, God rest her soul, my grandmother, she would go to Atlantic City all the time. You didn't have to pick her up. She was going to Broad and Alley, jump on the bus, hit Atlantic City, and then she was coming home like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. When she did, she would walk right straight through the guys. Hey, y'all, how y'all doing? What's going on? Hey, come on, walk me home so I'm safe. So she was known on her block by all of the guys, all of the thugs, and they loved her. So that was her reverse psychology. I'm not going to act like I'm scared. I'm not going to hold my pocketbook. I'm going to speak and say, hey, I remember having a barbecue before she passed away. It was like a lot of guys in my block. And she's like, you know that? And I'm like, not really. I just moved on this block. She's like, come on over here, y'all. I want some beers. Come get a beer. After that, every time I took out my trash, they were like, leave that there, sis. We got you. I'm like, this is trash. They were like, it's cool. We got you. I was like, oh, my grandma created a whole movement, like a family environment. And to this day, I walked out. So I had a flat tire. Before I even knew it, the guy was like, listen, I saw your flat. I got some fixing flat for you. All you got to do is put it in, and we're going to take you around the corner, put some air in it. So she created the family environment through what we would call, you know, and rather than being judgmental. So, you know, I try to adapt that now because I see that it works. Of course, being a kid, I used to be like, you don't know them. Don't talk to them, grandma. Come on, run. I'm like, no, baby. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. She said, I don't believe anything that's going to happen wasn't already preordained to happen, and that the answer isn't already figured out. So if that's the case, why am I scared? So I try to live like that. as much as I possibly can, but I'm gonna be honest. There are some times where I'll be like, you come a little close, and
Right.
I'm looking you in your eyes. I just want you to know I see you.
Like, I have a little time.
Listen, I don't know karate, but I'm a big girl.
She's taking me out. I can't. I'm overwhelmed. Now, final question.
Okay.
For parents who are having heart attacks just like you, or the many heart attacks that we do,
Right. Just our questions.
what advice would you have? I know you're trying to look for that advice for yourself, but just for parents who have young children as well.
I say be open. Be open, be open, be open. Know that your child is going to bring you topics that are going to make you have an absolute heart attack. But if they see that, they feel that, they're not even going to bring them to you. They're going to bring them to other folks and possibly get the wrong advice. So you want to be as open as possible to get your child to be comfortable with you. You know, I have a lot of teenagers that are not my children that come to me because they're not comfortable coming to their parents, but I'm going to give them the right advice. You know, I know that. I can say that about me, okay? But what about the people that are not going to give the right advice? So because of that, I think as parents, we owe it to our children to say, all right, I know this is going to piss me off, but come on, bring it to me. What happened? What are you thinking about? All right, well, here's the good and here's the bad. And teach them not only conflict resolution, crisis prevention, and intervention. We all internally have that. Whether we know the terms or not, we internally have it. But we have to leave the door open to invite the conversation. Because if you don't have it, again, the television will have it, the streets will have it, the school will have it, and then we're left. So my advice would be is to come up off of who we think we are and be open to allow our child to tell them who they think they want to be and us to just mold them in the right direction.
Oh, thank you for that. So again, we just want to thank you, Miss Shaylin Martin.
Shaylin Martin, and I want to thank you guys for what you're doing. I think this is great. I think you want to open up. It comes. We have to affect communities, to affect the households, to affect our children, to affect who's going to be in our future, because our children are our future. So I appreciate you guys for this. I hope you're in every school and in every neighborhood within the next year. I'm claiming it, putting it out there right now, because this is great. This is absolutely great.
Thank you. We appreciate you again so much for having us. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. This is for watching us. This is a reoccurring thing that's going to happen. We're not saying it's monthly. We're not saying it's weekly. But we will let you know if you stay in tune with thehypetvshow.com. That's THEHYPE TVSHOW. I was the spelling bee champ in 6th grade. Thehypetvshow.com. Please tune in. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Periscope, and YouTube at The Hype TV Show. And don't forget our Plain Talk parties. We're servicing communities in Philadelphia, 19122, 19133. Get on top of these Plain Talk parties. You want us in your schools. You want us in your rec centers. You want us in your churches, because we're trying to reach out to those religious organizations as well. And if you would like to host a Plain Talk party or have us come and help you host one, contact Ms. Tiffany Bacon at tbacon@phmc.org. That's TBACON at phmc.org. Again, spelling bee champ, come for me. I'm Patrick.
I'm Annie.
And this was Miss
Shaylin
Martin.
Martin.
We'll see you next time. Bye.